Hey everyone, we are just figuring out a couple of things. So you're still hearing our pre-show music, so just hang tight. And we're going to get started with the Capital Story live show. This is our first time doing a virtual show, so we're kind of figuring a couple things out. So thank you for your patience, but we should get started in just a moment. Hope you're enjoying the music. Hey everyone, it's official. We are starting the show. Thank you so much for your patience as we were figuring things out. So I am Betsaida LeBron. I am part of the Capital Storytelling team. Yes, thank you for the applause in the chat box. This is a virtual show. It is our very first ever virtual live storytelling show. And we're still figuring out a lot of things. So one thing that we miss in being able to do a live show in person is that we hear you in the room and you can applaud and cheer and, you know, send love in the room. And so this way you're gonna have to send all your love in the chat box. So please, if you're enjoying something, let us know, type it in the chat box. So excited that you're here. And the cool thing though, that's different from being able to do things virtually is that you don't have to be in Sacramento to come enjoy a Capital Storytelling show. So I know that we have people that are not even in the state of California that are watching the show tonight. So you want to say hi, let us know where you are. If you're in Sacramento, I'd love to know that. But if you're somewhere else, just let us know. That's one of the super cool things about being virtual is how small this space really is. And I'm just talking into a camera and I'm in your living room or office or wherever you're watching this, safely pulled over, I would hope, if you're in your car. So I'm glad that you're here. We have people from Wilton, yes, so Lori's from Southland Park and from Davis, the Mitten State, yes, wonderful. Syracuse, New York, Lido High, and Elk Grove, beautiful. From all over, from Reno, a couple people joining us from Sacramento. Excellent. So glad that you're here. Yes, Jane, I'm happy to be in your living room. So we are doing, like I said, the very first virtual storytelling show that we've done. And so thank you for your patience. We were figuring out some technology. And so what is happening, we were making sure that we could do closed captioning. So closed captioning is available for this show. There's a live captioner that is capturing the stories today. So if that is something that you want to see, you can access closed captioning at the bottom of the webinar screen. So we were figuring that technology out, but we're excited for it. So thank you all from that. Oh, hi, Steve and Rockland, hello. And if you are chatting in the chat box, there is an option to chat with all the panelists and all the attendees. Feel free to chat with all panelists and attendees so that everyone can see your comments and we can all kind of have a little conversation together if you want to. So again, welcome. Thanks so much for being here. We want to kind of get started. The thing that, first and foremost, we want to thank our sponsor, CAP Radio, who sponsored, thank you so much, CAP Radio, who's a sponsor of tonight's virtual event. We're very thankful that they're able to help support the mission of Capital Storytelling, which is to get people together and to share stories, to listen to each other's stories, and to find our voices and share those stories, and a diverse group of storytellers. We're really excited for tonight. Tonight, the theme is Things Left Unsaid. And we have 4 storytellers here tonight. We're very excited. 2 storytellers are special guests that have been invited by Capital Storytelling to share their story, and 2 that were students through the Capital Storytelling classes, which I'll tell you about a little bit later, who have shared their story and have worked on it and are bringing it here to our virtual stage to share with you, all under that theme. So I know I just told you about the chat box. Please engage in there. I want to know more about kind of how you guys are feeling, what you're enjoying about the show. But it pops up when the storytellers are speaking. So it is kind of the virtual etiquette that when storytellers are telling their story, quiet your fingers. So in person, we would have you silence your cell phones and, not speak during the storytellers. But in this virtual world, put the typing fingers away to not be disruptive to the storytellers. I think we can all do that and make sure that we're having a good time. But when you see my face, or when you see Lisa's face, who somewhere is here, Lisa Cantrell, Capital Storytelling, hi,
hey.
running things behind the scenes. If you see either of our faces on camera, then by all means, chat away. That's your time. So so Lisa, anything that you want to say to our
Absolutely.
Virtual audience?
Yeah, we are so excited. It looks like we have 88 people signed in, which is amazing. And I don't know if we want to do a poll and see if maybe multiple people are watching from each station, that we could get a tally on how many people are here. But we are so excited that everyone is here tonight. We're super excited about the storytellers that are going to share tonight. You are in for a real treat this evening. Yeah, I think that's all I have to share. I'd like to stay behind the scenes and do all the behind the scenes stuff. But whenever you're ready, Betsaida, we can actually let everyone see our storytellers, and then we can be moving them around.
Perfect. Yeah. So that's a great time. Why don't we bring out all the storytellers? So storytellers, I know you're also in the shadows. Cameras on. Yes.
Hey.
Hey. So these are our incredible storytellers who will be sharing tonight. So excited to have you here, and so excited for you to share with this audience your stories. And it's gonna be so good. So that being said, we're just gonna kind of jump right into what we're gonna do. And our very first storyteller of the evening is going to be so Lindsey Nicole is our first storyteller this evening, and so. Lindsey Nicole is a relentless optimist. She knows joy can be found in any circumstance, even in the midst of uncertainty and chaos. Lindsey is the author of Choose Joy, a collection of insights that opens your heart and feeds your soul. And this evening, she is sharing with us a story that is entitled Betraying the Whispers. So we'll turn off our cameras except for Lindsey.
All right, thank you. I'm done, I said. I was standing beside my son's crib. He was about 2 years old, and it was a beautiful day. It was 74 degrees and sunny when I said it. And I knew this was coming for a long time, but I didn't think I would feel this way. There was a calmness in the words that bubbled up and outside of me before I even had a chance to reel them back in like I always had in the past. As I stood there, it was Mother's Day, 2012, and I had been fighting with my husband until about 3 o'clock the morning before. And just because it's 3 o'clock in the morning that you go to bed, it doesn't mean that the baby wakes up any later. So it was 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning when he came walking in, and I knew by the way that his feet hit the floor that he wanted to continue fighting, and he jumped in just as no time had passed. He didn't care that it was Mother's Day, and I knew I wasn't going to be getting a present. He hadn't remembered a birthday, a Christmas, a Valentine's, any holiday for years. So I knew that I knew not to expect anything, but I also knew I was a good mom. And all I wanted was 3 words: Happy Mother's Day. It was clear I wasn't going to get those. And at that moment, I said, I'm done. Now, this had been coming for a long, long time. The day I met him, I also heard a whisper. It was 74 degrees and sunny that day as well. And he came sauntering up to the marketing trailer that I was working in. And we worked for the same company. We were raising money for charity events when he walked in, and he brought strawberries to my trailer. I was on the marketing team, so he brought strawberries to me. And I thought, I hadn't just in about 15 years. When I was about 6 years old, I went to a friend's birthday party. It was strawberry shortcake theme, and there was strawberry soda, and there was strawberry cake, and strawberry ice cream, and strawberry everything. And when I got home, I got sick on strawberries. So after that experience, I didn't eat strawberries until that day that he brought them to me. And they were plump and juicy and sweet. And to my surprise, I liked them. He asked me on a date, and I said yes. So later that day, because things moved quickly since we were on tour, he wanted to take advantage of the location we were at. We took the souped up golf cart and took it over the dunes. And it was the evening time. The sun was setting. And as we sat there and the moon hung in the sky, it was a full moon, and right next to the ocean, the moonlight was dancing off the waves. I thought, this is perfect. This is like a scene from a movie. And I knew the kiss was inevitable. But right before the kiss, I heard a whisper. It was like an internal knowing, and it said to me, he's not for you. And I heard it. And I thought, well, what do I do with that? He's not for you. It didn't tell me who was for me, and there wasn't anyone else there. So I thought, well, this moment is perfect. Even if he maybe isn't, I'm going to do this. And I kissed him. And that kiss led to us dating. And he pursued me a lot, even though I tried to say no, but all of my actions said yes. A year later, we moved in together, and I didn't realize that moving in together meant that we were going to be together for the entirety of the lease, which was another year. So by the time that lease was up, we actually lost our jobs. We were working for the same company, and it went out of business. So that led us into the slide where there was the job loss and some illness and depression and some more job losses. And kind of by that time, I felt like we'd made it through hell together. And my thought was, the thought that was getting me through everything was that if we've made it through this, we can make it through anything. It wasn't very joyful, but it was resolute. I was committed, and I knew that we could make it through. So by that time, I was about 28 years old, and I wanted a baby, and I wanted to be married, and I did not want to start over. And the whispers didn't tell me not to marry him. So I did. And we bought a house, and we had a kid. And by the time we'd gotten to this point, I didn't realize how stuck I really was until my son was 18 months old. And it was 74 degrees and sunny, and I was standing in my house. I was walking across the kitchen, the dining room, and my son was crunching his Cheerios. He was sitting in his high chair crunching on Cheerios, and my husband was doing something in the kitchen, and my feet suddenly became like lead weights, and I froze. I just stopped. My husband had been relentlessly critical of me from the time that I woke up that morning, and he'd been like that every time that we'd been together for weeks. And, you know, those Those moments turned into minutes, turned into hours and days and months, and now years and years of the critical voice at me. I was exhausted, and I stopped moving, and I froze like a statue. And as I stood there frozen, I thought, I heard, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, why am I freezing? This is not normal. Normal people don't freeze like this, but it also felt like I had a moment of calm, a moment of reprieve from the voices that told me that I was wrong over and over and over again. And as I noticed my husband out of the corner of my eye, he was washing tomatoes in the sink. And I thought to myself, if he's gentle with the tomatoes, why isn't he gentle with me? That moment didn't last very long. Eventually he said, he noticed that I'd frozen, and he asked me what was going on. And I thought to myself, nothing. I'm doing nothing. My thought was, if I'm doing nothing, I can't be wrong. And then he said, what's wrong with you? And I knew that that was the question, because something was definitely wrong with me. Back up at the crib, I stood there, looked my husband in the eye, and repeated myself, I'm done. He asked if that meant divorce. Do I want a divorce? And I didn't answer. Because the truth is, when anyone asks me, did you want a divorce? The answer is no. I didn't want a divorce. What I wanted was a healthy marriage. And it was something that I wasn't going to get in that relationship. And I knew from the very beginning, because the whispers told me, he's not for you. I just ignored them and pushed them away for years. It became a decade. And a decade later, I finally aligned my words and that knowing with my words with the whisper. And I gave voice by saying, I'm done. So that day is the day that I left. And I walked out, I filed for divorce, and I started to build a life. And it was super challenging to face the uncertainty, because the whispers never told me what to do. They just said, he's not for you. And they just said, I'm done. But when I followed the whispers, I was able to finally align with the truth of who I am. And the day that I said, I'm done, is the day that I finally stood in my truth. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, lots of applause. Beautiful. Thank you, Lindsey Nicole, for sharing that story. It's such a beautiful and vulnerable story. Really appreciate it. So just keep the claps and the comments coming in the chat box, everybody. I want to share with you that Capital Storytelling, we try to host these events 2 or 3 times a year, these live events. Obviously, like I said, this is the first time we're doing it virtually. Usually we do them in person, but it's important for us that we do these events because we believe in storytelling, right? It's a way to connect with each other. It helps us to walk in another person's shoes, gives us an opportunity to build empathy by hearing people's stories and from their perspective. And we believe that when we can tell stories and be seen and be heard, that it can really be transformative. And so that is what we're absolutely about. And we also think you can have a really good time doing it. So getting together and sharing stories and hearing each other's stories is such an important part of the work that we do. And if you believe in what we're doing, and you can, want to encourage you guys, this little QR code, it's not just wall art, it's actually where you can donate. to the Capital Storytelling to help us continue with this mission. So if you can, it's at capitalstorytelling.com/donate, or you can just scan this code with your phone. If you're on a laptop, you can scan it with your phone. If you're watching us on your phone, just keep watching the show. So our next storyteller, I'm excited for all the storytellers, but this next storyteller is a personal friend of mine. So she is our guest, one of our guest storytellers this evening. So I've known Justine Lopez for a couple years, and we do improv together. So she's my improv sister for sure, and she's going to be sharing a story with us. And so Justine is a comedian, an actor, and an improviser, a teacher, and a mother, and incredibly good at all of those things. She performs and teaches regularly at the Sacramento Comedy Spot. She's a cast member on Anti-Cooperation League, Lady Business, Masters of Rap, Improv, woo woo, and our duo Improv Jazz. She's also a founding creator of POC Improv Space, which is a free improv workshop for folks who identify as POC. And so I am excited to introduce Justine Lopez, and she's sharing a story tonight entitled Failure.
Hello, thanks, Betsaida. All right, let's do this, everyone. When I was growing up, school just never clicked with me. I was held back in the first grade because I couldn't read. I would fail tests and struggle with homework, or not even allowed on the end of the year school field trip because I didn't turn in an assignment. I was completely embarrassed. My poor parents had to constantly sign those, "Your kid got an F" on their math test. And I felt bad. I had cousins who were doctors and lawyers and doing amazing things, but it was me who just couldn't hit the mark. And so I never told my friends. I would just pretend everything was fine. But there was something I could do, and it was to make people laugh. I became the class clown. I was far more worried about being funny than getting good grades. I remember this time in class where the teacher had turned around and I had my friend toss a Tic Tac mint into my mouth across my classmates' heads, and it landed in my mouth, and the class just roared with laughter. And I liked that. Even though my teacher probably didn't like that, I liked that. But even throughout high school, my grades never improved. I was always at the bottom of the GPA list. I never got awards for anything. And the only thing that was consistent was my goofiness. And so after high school, I started college at an art school in San Francisco, which is probably the only college that will accept you if you have a 1.6 GPA. But no surprise here, I dropped out of art school, and yet again, I was considered a failure. And so I moved back home, and I started school at Cosumnes River College, kind of floating around. I still didn't know what I wanted or loved. And so I just started taking general ed classes, but yet again, I would fail history, fail astronomy, fail math, and just nothing ever clicked with me. And so I decided to change things up, to try something that I thought was outside of my comfort zone. And so I signed up for acting for beginners. I remember walking into class, first day of school, and there were no desks in the room. There were just chairs in a circle. And I sat down, and the moment class began, we were up on our feet. We were passing names across to each other in a circle. We were throwing objects that didn't exist. We were laughing. We were having fun. And I left that class that day with a smile on my face. and I had never done that before. And suddenly I was getting A's in class, turning in assignments and turning in essays, completing essays about plays that I had watched over the weekend. And I was reading chapters in our textbook, which is something I had never done before. And I was taking notes and even completing extra credit assignments, which is something also that I just didn't believe in. And so something clicked. I was all of a sudden excited for school. I had found something that I loved. Soon after that class finished, I auditioned for my first comedic play, and I got the role. The hooks just dug deeper, and I completely immersed myself into the world of theater. I was fascinated by every aspect of it, from the lights, the sounds, the costumes, and the rush of being on stage, delivering that line that I had practiced over and over again until it was perfect. But in the end, it was the laughs that drew me in more and more. I could make a sold out crowd laugh and explode with laughter. It hit my chest like bass does at a concert. It felt like that was my superpower. All of a sudden, I was getting awards and getting accolades from professors. And suddenly, I had felt what it was like to succeed. I found something that I loved. And so, 2 years of college theater, my friend Mikey had reached out to a couple funny, witty friends and asked us if we wanted to try improv, to kind of do like a DIY improv troupe. And in true improv fashion, I said yes to something I had no idea what I was getting myself into. And so we began teaching ourselves this art form anywhere we could, on the side of school buildings, in school parking lots, even in backyards. We taught ourselves to say yes and agree and add to things. We taught ourselves to play characters in the moment without thinking of it. And we figured out what worked and what didn't work. And so after a couple months of DIY improv teaching ourselves, we put on our first show at a tiny little bookstore in Roseville. And even in that room of just friends and family, I could make the crowd laugh. And so, like an addict searching for a fix, I searched more. I wanted to do more improv. And so I started volunteering at the Sacramento Comedy Spot in exchange for classes because I couldn't afford it at the time. And then the hooks dug even deeper. I was obsessed with improv. I was taking notes constantly. I was the one person in class that would sit there with a notepad in improv class. And so I would fail. I would make huge mistakes and come back the next week and try to perfect it. In improv, we are always on the edge of failing and fixing it as we go on, never really knowing what's going to happen next. And that felt like home to me. I was a failure growing up, but I always found a way to move forward and to not stop. My failures had taught me to keep going. And now I teach. I'm on the other end of the stick, encouraging my students to fail, to embrace failure, to make bold choices outside of your comfort zone and learning from your mistakes. And I find freedom in knowing that, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Thank you.
Woo!
Yes.
Yeah. Woo!
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Justine. Yes, clap, clap, claps in the chat box. Excellent. So I want to say a special thank you right now. Cap Radio is our sponsor, who's kind of helping us put this together, but also thanking you for those of you who have donated already. So shout out to our donors that have already donated during this event. Kevin Gross, Mary Ann Nichols, Michaela DeBolt, and Sarah Aga-Mohammadi. Thank you so much. Thank you for helping. Your donation helps support Capital Storytelling. It helps us put on live events like tonight, but also we're starting monthly story slams. So that is something that's going to be basically an open mic for storytellers. So if that's something that you are a storyteller, you love hearing stories, to either share your story or to listen to other stories, check out the monthly story slams. It'll be starting in August. We're super excited about that, and your donation helps to support that. It helps to support the live captioning that we're doing and making sure that all of our shows are accessible, because that is very important to us and a part of our mission. We have classes, and that helps to offset the cost of the classes and making sure that we can have classes for folks. And we give scholarships. So if people want to do stories and practice their story, we never want finances to be something that keeps people from being able to access Capital Storytelling classes and coaching and support. So your donations help us to be able to offer scholarships and to help pay for the webinar technology that we're using today, which, you know, it isn't free. So just thank you so much for those of you who have already donated. And if you can, and you feel like you're connecting to this story, you're connecting to our mission, and you believe in what Capital Storytelling is all about, and I ask you to, you know, please donate. capitalstorytelling.com/donate, or you could just, that's the QR code right there. So those of you who have already donated, we really appreciate you. And if you can't donate right now, we're just happy that you're here and you're part of the Capital Storytelling family. So know that you being here and supporting is, it means a lot to us. So we're happy to have you here. Yeah. So excited for the stories that we've already heard, and we have 2 more storytellers that we're going to bring up now. And so I'm just going to take a quick feel of the room on a scale from 1 to 97. How much fun are you having? Type it in the chat from 1 to 97, because there's 97 of us on here. So that's what that mark is. So from 1 to 97. Ooh, lots of 97s. Yes. Ooh, even a 99. Oh my goodness, I love it. Wonderful. I'm so glad that you're here. So glad that you're supporting live storytelling, which we believe is a beautiful art form.
197. I love it. I just wanted to chime in, Betsaida. We had a few more people that donated. So
wonderful.
Raven Pan donated, and also Deborah Smith just also donated. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Debbie. Yes. Wonderful. So thank you to those of you who have donated. Really, really appreciate it. Lisa, you're one of the storytelling coaches and teachers.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. What do you, since you're here, I'm going to talk to you. What do you love about Capital Storytelling and like the classes and the...
Yeah. I think people who are in the classes know how I feel about storytelling. I think it is the way that we connect with other people. So if you think about when you meet a new person, you usually don't just dump all these facts on them about yourself. How do you tell them about yourself? You tell them stories, right? It is how you understand yourself. It's how you share with someone else who you are. And it's also how you understand someone else's life, right? And so I love being in these classes. It's fun to help people understand how to share a really compelling story. It's super fun. But honestly, the most enjoyable thing is hearing other people's perspective on the world. And it's also super cool when you see people in the class, that people who may not ever have come across each other just in everyday life, they get in this classroom and they get to really hear like, oh, I did this one thing one time, and this other person's like, oh my God, I had something similar happen, and they connect in that. And I think it's amazing. It's super fun.
It is. It's super beautiful. I actually just started teaching earlier this year. And so, totally echoing everything that you're saying. That's the coolest part, is people just connecting over their stories. I want to give you a couple shout outs that you got in the comments, Lisa, that you are such a great teacher, that you're an amazing teacher, that you give the best notes. So a lot of love from former students in the comments, all deserved, by the way. And actually, our next storyteller was a student who came through the Capital Storytelling class that you taught, and so really excited to have our next storyteller. And so I'll introduce her. And before I do that, actually, also really important. Some people have donated in the link that was in the email, and then I do not have that name to give you kudos, but you know who you are. And know that I appreciate you. This is, it's right to you. Thank you. But I don't know your name, but thank you. Okay, so for all of those who did donate, just not here live, we weren't able to track it. So, but everyone who's supporting us, we appreciate your support. Thanks for being here. So our next storyteller, I'm gonna move on. Okay. Our next storyteller is a storytelling student who took the class here with Lisa. And so this is Abby Rotstein. And so Abby lives in many states, lived in many states, but she likes California the best. She wants to retire in a lighthouse, and she's only ever taken an Uber in Alaska. And she's sharing with us her story entitled My Mistakes.
Woo! Yeah.
So a few years ago, I was in San Francisco, and it was about 9 o'clock at night, and I was standing in a group of about 30 people across the street from a really large hotel. And all of us in this group were screaming and shouting at every single driver who went by, "I hope you get in a car accident. I hope you die." As a kid, I thought far too much about death and disease. I watched a lot of black and white television shows and movies, and so I always had to ask whether or not the actors in those shows were dead or not. And I must have heard about mumps in school because I thought that I needed to check for it. I think maybe I just liked the sound of the word mumps. But for 8-year-old me, that meant I heard something about lymph nodes, and so I had to check the soft spot behind my ear. And it's soft, so it was comforting until it wasn't, and then I had to feel it again. I also like to check if my heart was still beating. Now, I was a living child, so it was always beating. But there was something about the rhythm of my heartbeats, and I had to feel it a certain number of times, and that was comforting until it wasn't. And then I had to feel it again. And I had this foolproof plan, too. I just in case anybody saw me, I would just tell them, I'm doing the Pledge of Allegiance, doing my part. And then when I was 10 years old, my family was living in Southern California, and that's when I experienced my first earthquake. And it wasn't only the earthquake that was scary to me, but it was the news broadcasts that were constantly on in my home. I kept seeing the newscasters kept talking about and showing pictures of all of the buildings that had collapsed and the freeway overpasses that had fallen down. And they kept talking about all the people who had died. And that was the first time that I realized that everyone I knew and loved could die so violently and so suddenly. So this made me really nervous, and for some reason I thought all of this was my fault. I don't know why, but it was all on me. And I decided that I needed to take this straight to the top, So every night before I went to sleep, I talked to God or the earthquake deity or whatever you call them, and I said, listen, it's not you, it's me. I'm responsible for all of these earthquakes, so you've got to help me out. You've got to correct my mistakes. And because I had a lot of foresight as a kid, I knew that I would grow up to become a bureaucrat, so this entire conversation became an acronym. So it was correct my mistakes, CMM. But also, you're kind of all-knowing, and this all-knowing, all-seeing being, so it's possible that maybe I haven't done anything or won't do anything. So if not, don't, IND, correct my mistakes, CMM. And there was something about the rhythm of the acronym and having CMM on both sides that I liked, and I could say it over and over again, CMM, IND, CMM, IND, CMM, IND, CMM. And I always said it in my head, so no one would ever know. And it turned out that it wasn't just nighttime that I became anxious. I started getting anxious during the day, too. And I would say that acronym. And it turned out also that I wasn't just responsible for earthquakes. I was responsible for a whole lot of horror. And I didn't want that to happen. So as I was growing up, my sister, as she was learning how to drive, I didn't want her to get in an accident, so CMM, IND, CMM. When my dad had heart surgery, I didn't want there to be any complications, so CMM, IND, CMM. Whenever I learned about a new horrific way to die or get a disease, I'd throw out that acronym. But I never told anybody. I kind of knew it was wrong, so I was a little bit ashamed of it and kind of scared too. And also, how do you tell somebody that you ward off evil with an acronym? And so anyway, I was doing okay. I was in high school, and toward the end of high school, beginning of college, the internet as we don't know it came on the scene, and I did what you're not supposed to do. I went into the original WebMD and I typed in my symptoms, and I realized with near certainty that I likely have OCD. But still, I didn't tell anybody because that was really scary, and I was still ashamed of it. And aside from that, I was doing okay. I had graduated high school, I graduated college and grad school, I got a job and another. So I was doing okay until I wasn't. And that's when a friend I had known since I was 11 years old died in a car accident. And no amount of saying an acronym could have stopped it from happening. And no amount of acronyms could have brought him back. But I kept saying it and kept saying it and kept doing so much more. Whenever my sister was out on the road for her job or driving anywhere, I would check the traffic reports just to make sure there were no accidents. And every single night I would call my parents just to make sure they were still alive. I couldn't concentrate, I wasn't getting much sleep, and I never had to check my heartbeat ever again because it was beating faster than I had ever known. And then one night, I called my mom, and I said, I can't do this anymore. And I told her that I suspected that I have OCD. And she listened, and she comforted me, and that's when I began my road to recovery. I finally saw a psychiatrist who confirmed my diagnosis, and I had never been more relieved and terrified at the same time. One of the most effective ways that you can overcome OCD is that you are gradually exposed to your fears, so that I could get exposed to a fear and not touch the soft spot behind my ear. You get exposed to your fear and not feel your heartbeat. So I found myself in San Francisco at the annual conference for the International OCD Foundation. And they had talks and panels and speakers and support groups, and they also had an exposure scavenger hunt. So all 30 of us were in this group, and we were led by an OCD therapist who took us throughout the city And he told us all to shout at those drivers, to scream at them, "I hope you die." And, that was cathartic. And then finally, we went through the night after having touched dirty money and put our hands in dirty dumpsters. We finally wound up in this park. And the exposure almost didn't happen because the park police came over and they said to the therapist, "Hey, we're closing, the park is closing, so you should probably leave." And the OCD therapist said, "I'm a highly trained OCD therapist and we're doing an exposure here, so maybe you should just let us do this." And the park police said, "You look like a highly trained OCD therapist, so we're going to let you have the exposure." So they left us alone. It's probably a good idea that he didn't tell them about the knives, because he had this giant bag, a giant gym bag full of big, heavy knives. They supposedly got through TSA as well. And these were not just kitchen knives. They were big, heavy, badass knives. And he said that this exposure was for all of us who thought that our thoughts and behaviors and emotions and feelings would bring harm to those we loved. And I said, well, I'm in. And all the people who didn't have this particular flavor of OCD, they were told to go off and form a gauntlet to the side. And the rest of us got handed our knives. And when I got mine, it was big, it was heavy, and I held it really, really tightly. So all of us with the knives, we lined up and waited for our turn to run through this gauntlet. And the therapist told everybody in the line to scream and shout at us as we were going down. And so I held my knife and I waited, and then one person went, and then another person went, and then another person went, and finally it was my turn, and I ran down that gauntlet, and I was thinking, CMMINDs, and I didn't hurt anyone. Thank you.
Woo!
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you, Abby, for sharing that. Yes. Yeah, very, very powerful. Just appreciate you sharing that story with us. If you believe like we do that the power of stories to connect each other, then really excited about the next kind of chapter of Capital Storytelling, where we're going to be doing monthly story slams. And so our first story slam is going to be August 1st, which is going to be, Lisa, what day of the week is that? That's a Saturday.
Yeah, I'm coming in online
at 5 p.m.
Yeah, it's on a Saturday at 5 p.m. That's absolutely right. And anyone can register. Go ahead. Sorry. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I was going to ask, how can they register? If someone's like, I would love to share my story in kind of the Story Slam, which is just a version of kind of like an open mic for storytellers.
Yeah, go to the website, and I can actually put it in our chat box. Go to the website. Under events at our website, we have a tab there that says Story Slams, and you can click on the Story Slams for each month and register. It'll all be on Zoom. You register there. It is free to sign up. We clearly would appreciate donations to help us put it on. And Betsaida will be there leading it, so you're spearheading that, right?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah,
which
awesome.
I'm excited about. And so for those who want to come share a story, it'll be, signups at the top of the Story Slam, and we'll just take the signups that people first come, first serve kind of a thing. And if you want to just come and listen and be supportive, we'd love that too, right?
Yeah.
So that is, someone mentioned it is next weekend. That is true. It's in 8 days.
Yeah,
to
and
be
so
specific.
And like Betsaida is saying, this is for everyone, so you can come. It's supposed to be, it's almost like we're trying to create this kind of event, but do it monthly and allow more people to get on stage in front of a group, share their story. And then Betsaida will also be giving, if people want, she'll be giving some feedback and some notes to also kind of create a spirit of workshopping and supporting people in terms of telling their story and telling a good story.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so it is a part just of like a show, and then part workshop for those who are willing to participate in that. And so, yes, similar to a different podcast that isn't quite a butterfly, if you're familiar. I don't know if we can legally say that. So someone else asked if there will be virtual refreshments. Sarah Nichols, absolutely. Sarah Nichols will provide virtual refreshments. Thank you for volunteering. So come
okay,
on.
go ahead. Sorry, I'm stepping on your toes. Go ahead, Betsaida. Sorry.
Oh, I'm done. Come.
Oh, well, it was just I was going to switch gears, and we're getting donations, and so I'd love to recognize people who are donating, if that's okay.
Yes, of course.
Thank you so much. So I think it's Yvonne Chen has donated. Chris Anderson donated. Basha Ellis donated. Patty Roberts has donated. We have more. Jimena Ospina donated. Michelle Johnston donated. Andrew Loffer donated. I might mispronounce this name. I believe it's Chris Borkent. Borkent has donated. Lindsay Smith has also donated, I believe. I'm trying to go through we're getting a lot as we go. Tim Smith has also donated. So thank you so much. And if I didn't say your name, it is because they're coming in very quickly. And so I'm trying to click on all of them. But we really appreciate it. Like Betsaida said, we use that money to put on these events and to pay the staff to put on these events. And we're really committed to making sure that our staff are paid. We're really committed to trying to make our classes accessible. So we offer scholarships. Anytime someone says, I don't have the financial means to take a class, we want to be in a position where we never have to say, well, I'm sorry, we don't have enough funding. We always want to be in a position where we say, we have funds for that. We have a body of people, a community of people who believe in storytelling, and they have offered funds for this so that anyone who wants to take the class can. And so that's where that money goes. And it also goes, like Betsaida was saying, to help us host this event. So it's not free to put this event on. Even though it's all virtual, it still costs money. And so that is where that money goes. We really appreciate it, the people who are able to donate.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, and again, like we said, for those of you who can and you're feeling compelled to, we absolutely appreciate it, and we will put that money towards our mission and making sure that classes are accessible, that these events happen, and that we do what we do. So silliness for a second before we get into some serious storytelling. Sarah Nichols in the chat box is taking your virtual refreshment orders for the next for the slam. So let her know what it is that you need her to bring. So that would be really helpful in the chat box. Yep. Yeah. We need some s'mores, some Snicker bites, not full-size Snickers, just the bite ones. I'm I'm with you. Virtual Skittles. Yeah. Very delicious. Yes. I mean, Sarah, you're really taking care of some things. I'm really, really appreciating it. Yeah. Beverages and snacks. A Mai Tai. All right, Diane, are you getting all this, Sarah? You ready? Yeah, and just the bites. I love it. Perfect. Sarah's got it. She's on it. I really appreciate it. It's really gonna be a really great event. So for those of you who can join us next Saturday, Sarah's bringing all the virtual goodies. So.
Oh God, thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, and that's what's great is because like you can eat anything in the virtual world, and it, you don't have to.
And you don't gain it, and you don't gain any weight.
There's no dietary restrictions in the virtual world. That's what's great. So, yeah. So our next storyteller, is Angela, and so Angela, hello, Angela. So Angela is a different kind of storyteller and poet who will make you laugh or cry depending on your mood and hers. Her eclectic blend of words, music, and movement is designed to entertain, stimulate, and sometimes titillate. She performs regularly all over Northern California at public and private events, and also organizes storytelling and poetry events in Sacramento. And she's one of our guest storytellers this evening. So please join me in welcoming Angela James, and her story is titled The Right Thing to Do.
Woo! Yeah.
Thank you for that great introduction. But I have to admit that you two hosts are a hard act to follow. So I'm going to try. I'm going to see if I could best that. So I think I'm going to try to sing. So yeah, I got to do something to upstage you guys, you know? But allergy-wise, it just tears you up, you know? Okay. I want to be a cowboy sweetheart. I want to learn to rope and to ride. Okay, that's as much as I'm going to do. As the truth be told, I didn't want to be a cowboy sweetheart. I mean, if I had to go to the trouble of learning how to rope and to ride, I wanted to be a cowboy. Well, specifically, I wanted to be a cowgirl. Now, this is a long story. Many, many, many moons ago, I attended a rodeo. And that's the kind of cowgirl I wanted to be. I wanted to be a cowgirl, and I wanted to be a rodeo cowgirl. Because as I said many moons ago, when I lived in that foreign country, Texas, that's in the southern United States somewhere, I attended that rodeo and I loved it. I loved everything about the rodeo. I loved the horses and the bulls and the little kids riding on the sheep. And I liked the smell of the horse manure and the dirt and the dust. And I loved the cowgirls, you know, jogging around on their little horses without a hair out of place. I just loved everything about the rodeo. Oh, I forgot to mention the cowboys. I like the cowboys as well. You know, the ones with their tight jeans and belt buckles as big as a plate, you know, like a dinner plate. You know, the ones who walked around bare-chested for the benefit of the cowgirls. The ones who were chewing and spitting tobacco and smoking cigarettes. And I even love the ones who didn't know what Old Spice was all about. Yeah, you know, they smell like the horses too. But that just it added to the sex appeal of these cowboys. However, I like cowgirls even more because I wanted to be a cowgirl. I wanted to be the one at the rodeo riding around the arena, you know, carrying the flag. I wanted to be a barrel racer doing the obstacle course without knocking over those barrels. I wanted to swing a rope and catch those little baby cows and tie them up to teach them a lesson. Don't you guys ever run away from me? I wanted to be a cowgirl. Now, one thought never crossed my mind in all of the mystique of wanting to be a cowgirl. It never dawned on me that I had to actually know how to ride a horse. But that was a minor detail. I wanted to be a cowgirl so much. I went out and I bought me some jeans. I bought me some plaid shirts for everyday wear. I bought me some frilly blouses for special occasions. Oh, I bought me some of those very uncomfortable pointy-toed cowboy boots. And every night I would soak my feet in Epsom salts. Oh, I even went out and bought me a wig so I could have long flowing tresses under my fancy cowgirl hat. That just shows how committed I was. Well, fast forward maybe about 25 years later, and all the dreams of being a cowgirl, they got lost, you know, marriage and kids and responsibility, that always takes it out of you. My big plans of going to the Calgary Stampede, Oh, that went on the back burner. So I'm here in Sacramento, living a life. And I'm getting older. I'm not going to tell you how old, but my birthday is approaching. And my friend calls me up and she says, "Real excited. Guess what I got us for your birthday?" I think, us? You got a mouse in your pocket somewhere? But she was a very dear friend, so I didn't verbalize that thought. Now, this friend of mine, she's the kind of person, when she puts a question like that to you, you just can't say to her like you would say to any other person, "What?" No, you have to give 3 guesses. You know, just like Bilbo and Gollum in Lord of the Rings, 3 guesses before she takes you out of your misery, okay? So, okay, I'm going through the ritual guess one. Theater tickets? No. A getaway weekend for 2? No. A sugar daddy? No, I was really hoping for that one. No, she said. I got us tickets to the Folsom Rodeo. Well, now I know that she was a very, very dear friend, and she had been listening to my stories all these years. Well, came the big day, July 4th. Ooh, I dug out my sexiest pair of Daisy Dukes and I put them on. Oh, I got my lowest cut frilly blouse. I pulled out those still uncomfortable pointy toes cowgirl boots. Dug out my hat. I am ready. And I headed off to Folsom. I was so excited. I even got lost, couldn't find the entrance to the arena. So finally, I did find an entrance. It must have been the wrong one because I parked illegally and made it into the arena with minutes to spare. There I saw my friend waved at her. She was at the top, uppermost bleacher. And I said to myself, whoa, she really got good seats. From up there, you could probably see all the way to the Bay Area. It was so high. And so she's there waving at me and I'm waving back. And then a little thought starts worming its way into my mind. How am I going to get up there? Because with all of this planning, cowboy boots, Daisy Dukes, everything else, one very important thing I hadn't taken into consideration. One of my legs was in a cast, all the way from my toes to mid-thigh. And I was using a pair of crutches to aid my mobility. Well, I'm the problem-solving type, okay? So I look up there and I said, okay, figure a way to get up there. Huh? I could fly up there. Nah, didn't have my wings that day. I could scoot up on my behind up there. Nah, that wouldn't work. Those bleachers were packed with hot dog eating people, packed butt to butt, and they're all looking at me very strangely. Well, I could go home. And finally I decided that was the solution. So I pantomimed to my friend that I was going home. And as I turned to leave, something caught my eye. These 2 young men were coming down from one of those top bleachers. and it looked as though they were coming towards me. Well, as they got closer, these guys were a sight to behold. Two young men with red mohawks sticking up about 6 inches. They had on the requisite jeans, big belt buckles with skull and crossbones and studs on the belt. And they were coming down very purposefully. And as they got closer, I could make out other things. Had a little black vest on, and it would open a little bit, and I could see tattoos on their chest. These guys had tattoos on every part of their body. From their arms, they had snakes and dragons intertwined with hearts and roses. Odd combination. And as they even had the back of their hands and their knuckles. And as they got a little closer, I started seeing more details. On their scalp, sharing space with a mohawk, were swastikas and stars and stripes. And all the little buttons pinned on to their vests. Ooh, they had weird things, more swastikas, more skull and crossbones, and a whole lot of other things that I couldn't recognize. And additionally, these two guys, and they look like young men, they had enough body piercings that if they went within 1 mile of an airport, all the alarms would go off. So there they were, coming down, and they were coming straight at me. And, oh my God, I said to myself, oh, they're coming to kill me. I closed my eyes and I offered up a prayer to every supernatural entity I had ever heard about or read about. I even said a prayer to the X-Men and Professor X. I got scared. All of a sudden, I heard a voice and I said, yes, my prayers have been answered. So I opened my eyes, and this was not the answer to my prayer. These two, thing one and thing two, was standing in front of me, and the voice was saying, need some help, ma'am? I heard a voice which might have been mine. I heard this little voice squeak like a little mouse. Yes, please, thank you. Now, what would you have said if you were in that situation? Well, I wasn't going to say anything else, but yes. So, well, they didn't wait for any invitation. Thing one, he grabbed my crutches. Oh, I said to myself, oh my God, and there I am, teetering on 2 legs instead of 4, grabbed my crutches and gave them to thing two. And I said, he is going to take my crutches and beat me and kill me in front of all of these people. Then he grabs my purse from off my shoulder. Oh, he is going to rob me, then beat me, then kill me in front of all of these people. And then just out of the blue like this, thing one, he sweeps me up in his arms. And I'm like, oh, I'm dead for sure. In the meantime, thing two has the crutches and he's holding them in front of him like a divining rod. And he's yelling, coming through. And the crowd and those bleachers parted like it was Moses commanding the Red Sea. he led the way with those crutches, and thing one followed up there with me in his arms. Well, you know, it is said that when you think you're going to die, your life flashes before your eyes. My life didn't flash. I just started paying attention to all the little details. You know, I could feel the studs from the body piercing on thing one pressing against my chest. I could hear his heart going thump, 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 because I weighed 110 pounds, but you know, that's still a load to carry uphill. I could smell the cheap cologne that he had doused himself in. I guess he didn't believe in Old Spice, but whatever it was strong. I could see that he was not a boy, but he wasn't yet a man. So all of these thoughts, as he's taking me up there and running along with that, in the back of my mind somewhere is like, oh my God, he is going to throw me over the back of the bleachers. I don't want to land under those bleachers. I know what's under those bleachers. You got stale popcorn, and you got soda cups, and you got uneaten hot dogs and all kinds of food wrappers and used condoms. It's not a nice place under those bleachers. And you also have rats. I'm like, oh my God, they'll never find me. After the rats eat me, they will never find me. But we got to the top bleacher, and thing two takes the crutches and very rudely shoves somebody aside who was staying too close to my number, and they plopped me down past my crutches, past my purse, and then the two of them saluted. At least it wasn't a Hail Hitler, little salute, and they just took off back through the bleachers. And the only thing that I remember about that time was the national anthem was playing, and hardly anybody was standing because they were all sort of looking at what was going on. But there was one gentleman who was standing, and I thought he must have been really confused about anatomy, because he was holding his hat, not over his heart, but over his crotch. Talk about paying attention to detail. That's a very big deal. But these two guys, they just took off, and as they bounded through the crowd down to the bottom, you know, and there was the late evening light just shining on their red mohawk and all the metal body piercings and the back of their little leather vests that had a big sign on it that said white power.
Mm.
I enjoyed the rodeo that day. I enjoyed the smell of the cows, the smell of the horses, the dust, the dirt, the sounds of the carnival outside the arena. I remember all of that. I also do remember my friend asking me, did I know those two guys? And I said, no. And then she asked, well, why did they help you? And I said to myself, oh, and I said to her as well, maybe because they knew it was the right thing to do. So, as I said, I did have a good time with the rodeo, but the most vivid memory of that day was those two young men doing what they did for me. Now, I spent quite some time giving serious thought to my reaction that day. Here I was, a Black woman in a very vulnerable situation, you know, on 2 feet instead of 4, being accosted by 2 young men with all of the paraphernalia of a hate group, national hate groups. And there I was, just totally afraid, even though I was in a very public situation where there should have been no cause for fear. I really thought and wondered about my reaction. So you can analyze, if you want, the actions of these 2 young men that day and come up with all sorts of explanations. I simply choose to believe that they engaged the power to do what was right. And that power is something that we all have within us. That's my story. But wait, 1 second. By the way, I just want you all to know that I did learn how to ride a horse in my dreams.
Yeah.
Oh, excellent. Thank you so much, Angela. Angela James, everybody. Yes.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yes, great job, Angela. Great job to all of our storytellers this evening. Actually, can I get all the storytellers? Can you guys come back? Love to see you all. Hello, hello. Excellent. Yes. So, are we perfect? All right. So thank you. There's Lindsay. Hey. So one more time, we're going to give it up for you guys, all of our storytellers this evening. Thank you so much.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yes, you just major applause for everyone. Standing ovations in the chat box. Just thank you so much for sharing your stories with us, and thank you to you who are at home or wherever you're watching, for being here, for hearing these stories, for supporting Capital Storytelling and what it is that we're doing. Lisa, we raised some money tonight too. We had some incredible donations. Yeah. Thank you for those of you who were able to donate and who did. We really appreciate it. Lisa, do you want to give us a little update of kind of?
Yeah, absolutely. We had we raised a little over $500, which is amazing. And that was just during the show. So we want to thank people for doing that. And we have also people who donated before. So we had about 200 before. So we've raised a little over 700, which almost covers the cost of the show. And there's still, people can still donate afterwards. We would love for you to do that. Yeah. So thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you all for those of you who donated. Last chance if you want to. Just for those of you who have never come to a Capital Storytelling event, welcome. We're family now. That's how this works. So we'll see you at the next, carne asada, right? Come on over. That's just how we do. So hopefully you'll come back to the next event. There's an opportunity to join us for the Story Slam next month. There'll be classes in the fall. There's a 101 oral storytelling. There's also 201. Lisa, you teach a podcast, which is a storytelling for radio.
Yeah, so I just want to reiterate what Betsaida said. So Betsaida's teaching the 101. She's a fantastic teacher. One of the best teachers in Sacramento, honestly. Then I'll teach a 201 for people who have taken 101 and they want to continue to hone their skills. And then we have the podcasting class, which will happen in November. So the oral storytelling classes happen in September. You can check them out on the website. We have room for about 12 people in each of those. and the podcast class starts in November. We try to keep that one really small, so if you're interested, you should sign up. And we have an early bird discount right now, so you can, if you sign up before October 10th, you have a little bit of a discount. And I teach it, and it's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, and you already know that Lisa's an incredible teacher. You heard all the comments earlier. So again, I just want to give it up for our storytellers and for the audience for being here. This was an incredible night. I hope, I don't know how you felt. I think we're still at a 97, maybe higher. I had a wonderful time. Thank you again to our storytellers, Lindsey, Abby, Justine, Angela. You guys were incredible. Thank you so much for sharing your stories, for being part of Capital Storytelling live event. And yay, you guys are having so much fun.
All right, we will see you all. Our next live event. So we'll have a story slam next week. Go to the website, sign up, bring a story, or just go and watch and listen. And then we'll have a story slam each month. And then our next big main event like this will happen in November 13th. Is that right?
November 13th. Yes.
Perfect. Wonderful. Okay, yeah. I think that's it for tonight. Is that right?
That is it. Yeah. So make sure that check us on the website, get on the mailing list so that you're probably not going to remember everything that we just said, and you shouldn't have to. So,
yeah, awesome. And thank you so much to Betsaida for doing all the hard work that she did on this. So let's also give her a round of applause.
Yeah. Have a wonderful night, everyone, wherever you are. Keep sharing stories.
All right. Bye, folks.